Modern Nomads is a weekly program about Kazakh compatriots who try to save Kazakh traditions for the current and next generations. And for those who are interested in the culture and history of ancient Kazakh nomads, watch us every week on Kazakh TV.
The Kazakh steppe is a big territory, starting from the Altai region, ranging to Atyrau. Due to the scope of the land, there are regional differences in the national traditions as well. These peculiarities can easily be noticed, since the nation is not densely populated in one place, but is rather widely dispersed, and the difference can be found in the various traditions, such as putting newborn babies into a cradle, or a marriage. What do differences mean to the traditions of one nation? Tattigul Kartayeva, having a PhD in history, studies this field and explains it in terms of the rich traditions of the Kazakh nation. Let's take, for example, the downstream area of the Sur River, which is today in the Kizloorda region. Even in this region, they have their own regional differences. The Aral and Kazale areas have different traditions, while the central part customs are also different. Joly and Janakurgan areas near Shymkent have different traditions as well. Such differences occur because of the connections with nearby areas. For instance, the traditions of the people living downstream of the Sur River resemble those of the West Kazakhstan area. Joly and Janakurgan areas have close regional connections with South Kazakhstan people living in the middle stream area of the Sur River. The South Kazakhstani people have similar traditions with other nations such as Uzbeks, who live close to them. This shows the close ethnic cultural connections between the two nations. Traditions and customs are ways of living of the nation that have been constructed from hundreds of years. The rules that have been abiding there from the cradle to the grave. These are the steppe's rules. The Kazakhs share their land with Mongolia and Russia in the east and north, and with Turkmen and Bashkurt in the west, with Uzbek and Uyghur in the south. That is why there are similarities in our traditions.
Ал енді батыс қазақтарында қазақтарға ат қою дәстүрінде ерекшелік бар. Ал енді бұл
If we speak about Western Kazakhstan, we can see a difference with other regions in how they choose names. For instance, such names as Imangali, Sarsengali, Amangali, or Garifallah, or Ayatollah, Sagidollah are all common because of living closer to the Bashkurt and Tatar nations. This is their mullah and Tatar teachers that came frequently to Kazakh villages. Also, this region was in Tatarstan, and they are educated and preparing teachers and mullahs. And the graduates used to come to our western region, as it was not very distant. So we can observe such an influence. In North Kazakhstan, we can also see the influence of the Russian nation on the Kazakh customs and traditions. This is due to the close location of Russia and many Russian people residing there. Traditions change and develop over periods of time. Some disappear due to the nation's way of living. For example, putting newborns into a cradle tradition are different in various regions. Before, this process was a big celebration with many parts, and nowadays such ways of celebrating exist only in the southern Kazakhstan region. But it is not similar to early times, as today the cradle is brought by the wife's relatives.
Байырғыдан өзгешелік бар. Ол қандай өзгешелік? Байырғы кезеңде жаңа мен айтып кеттім. Бесікті
Certainly there are differences compared to the past. What kind of differences? Well, in earlier times, the first traditional cradle is called a besik, which was made by order of the parents or grandparents for the first child in the dynasty, and the next children would also use that one as well. The same cradle could be used by the father and later by his child, and used till it becomes too old. The cradle was not put outside the house, but on the contrary, it was kept inside on collected felt. It was regarded as a sacred thing since your children used it, and it was passed from generation to generation.
Ұрпағыңның, баланың жатқан орны, сондықтан бесікті қасиетті санап, бесік ұрпақтан ұрпаққа өтіп отырған.
Many Kazakh traditions are related to the cradle, because our nation has a saying that the nation grows from the new generation. We treat the baby in the cradle as a king. Besik toy, or the cradle celebrations, putting into the cradle, buying a cradle, all of these traditions exist. When the child turns 1, he is brought to his mother's relatives, who present him kuruk shubartai, 2-year-old fowl with 40 spots. This tradition has been taking place for many years.
Ал енді бала бесікте шетінейтін болса, онда ол баланы апарып жерлеп, ол баланың үстіне о дүниелік үй тұрғызбаған. Бесікті жерлеген.
If the child died in the cradle, it was put near his grave, and the gravestone was not constructed, as the cradle was regarded as the child's house in the other world. The cradle would be there during the rain, snow, and wind, and finally rot down and be decomposed into the land. Such a tradition still exists in the downstream of the Sur River because in other regions less people use such traditional cradles. Especially in the north, east, and southeast regions, this tradition gradually stopped being used since the 1960s.
Қалдыру бұл кезеңде сырдың төменгі ағысында сақталып отыр. Себебі сырдың төменгі ағысында бесікке бөлу дәстүрі әлі күнге дейін сақталған. Қазақ жерінің басқа өңірінде бесікке бөлу дәстүрі қолданылады.
The middle and downstream areas of the Sir-Darya River, the west of the Kazakh land, is the place where the tradition of putting a newborn baby into the traditional cradle, besik, still takes place.
Қолданыстан шыға бастаған бірте-бірте. Ал енді бесікке бөлу дәстүрі қазіргі сақталып отырған аймақ, бұл Сырдарияның орта ағысы, Сырдарияның төменгі ағысы, Қазақ жерінің батысы.
Besik is made from the sacred wood, the willow and spruce. While the spruce has protective qualities against infectious diseases, the willow is best for making it easy to transport. There are many sayings and prohibitions related to the making of a cradle. The great writer Mukhtar Owaisiv said that if you want to be a nation, fix your cradle. Tattigul Kartayeva, researcher and historian, has found interesting information about a besik while doing her research.
Қызылорда облысының өзінде өз ішінде аймақтық ерекшелік байқалады. Ал енді бұна Арал, Қазалы, Қармақшы өңірлерінде.
Even in one region, in Kizlorda's oblast, we can see regional differences in traditions. Aral, Kazaly, and Karmakshi area residents, in the event of a child's death in a cradle, bury the child and take the cradle very far away, to the cross-section of 2 roads, or they put it in a very high place. Other regions, on contrary, put the cradle near the child's grave, as it is a house in the other world. I have taken photos of such cases while I was on expedition to the graveyards and other sites, and you can still find cradles in such graveyards.
Әлі күнге дейін бейт қорымдардан осы бесіктерді табуға болады.
There is another widely spread tradition in Kazakh culture called bata beru, or blessing. Bata is a collection of good wishes and blessings. The younger person asks bata from the older one. The old grandfather gives his blessing to the grandchildren, and the grandmother can give it to the daughter-in-law. The bata words resemble a nice poem and end with their best wishes. The proverb, "The nation flourishes with the blessings and the land with rain." It explains the importance of bata, which also has regional differences in exercising.
Қазақы аймақ басым.
In the downstream area of the Sur River, which had less influence from the other nations, and kept most of the Kazakh culture. The owner of the house and the whole of his family stand to receive the blessing. Or as they ask the older person in their dialect, Jarılkap, Jibiriniz, please give us your blessing. I haven't heard these words in other regions. Or they say another version with the same meaning, Jarılkatınız. And this person puts his hands together with palms up and says, take your bata. All the family members, including the children, stand up. They stand in a row to receive their blessings and good wishes. They regard sitting in such a case as very rude. The daughter-in-law. Some parts of Kazakh culture are devoted to the daughters-in-law. Traditions and customs beautifully cover all parts of welcoming them and helping them get used to their new families. The tradition of daughter-in-law's greetings other people is the oldest one, which also has some regional differences. Not in all regions do they have to greet anyone older. During big celebrations, the daughters-in-law hold big plates with food just to greet the eldest people sitting in the top of their table, and they bless these women. It means greeting, not the food, but the guests.
Ал енді келіндердің барлығы мына қазақ жерінің оңтүстігінде, сырдың төменгі ағысында.
Let's talk about daughters-in-law. In West Kazakhstan and downstream areas of the Sur River, they greet by bending forward anyone older than their husband, to anyone from that dynasty or even tribe. They greet one another saying, Salim berdik, we are giving our greetings. And the other person says, Kop jasa, live a long life. This tradition is not used in the southeast, in the Jetasu, in the east and north regions of the Kazakh land.
Мына оңтүстік шығысында, осы Жетісуда, Қазақ жерінің шығысында, солтүстігінде ол дәстүр сақталмаған.
One of the traditions related to the daughter-in-law is welcoming the bride, creating a folded screen called shimildik. On the day when she comes into the family, betashar, or opening the face tradition takes place. A singer or a poet of the village conducts betashar. They uncover the bride's face covered by a shawl with kamshi, or a whip, cane, a stick, or the rolling pin. Today, people use a dombra, a musical instrument.
Betashar дегеннің сөздің өзі келіннің бетін әдет ғұрып, дәстүрмен, әнімен, сәнімен, орамалмен.
The word betashar means the opening of the bride's face with respect, songs, and following the traditions. The bride, who is now a daughter-in-law, is the new member of your family. She came to your house to stay forever with you. She left her own parents, family, and house to become a member of your family and continue your dynasty with a new generation. And thus, you should welcome the new member with celebrations. Introduce her to all of your relatives. In earlier times, people would welcome the bride at the entrance to the village and take her to the house holding the screen. The bride who left her family used to wear a saukele, a special hat which had an embroidery on two sides near the ears. The Kazakhs still have a saying about the person who is very shy. Has the embroidery fallen down? These embroideries would cover the bride's face from two sides.
Бет моншағың үзіліп тұрма деген сөз, сол сәукелемен тығыз байланысы бар. Сәукеленің екі самайындағы мына құлағы сәукеленің келінің бетін жауып тұрады.
Kazakhs have a saying that if she found the right match, give her for free to the future husband. This is related to the daughter who has grown up. Preparing the daughter for marriage is a long process, continuing for months and even years. The daughter would receive her presents, and 30-day marriage celebration would show the respect for the woman in Kazakh culture. The daughters were regarded as honored guests who will leave the family soon, and thus our nation showed them the greatest respect.